Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are so excited. We are here today to talk about The Amazing Race, season 37 premiere. We don't get to talk about the show a lot, but we love it. It's one of Molly and I's shows that we've been watching for years and years and years. And we could not be more excited to have someone else on with us to talk about this with, who has also been watching The Amazing Race for many, many years. She is one half of the Mess Magnets with Kristen McInnes, various other podcasts on the reality and unscripted TV sides of RHAP. It is Sasha Joseph. Sasha, how are you?
So good. Oh my gosh, we're talking the best show on TV. I'm ready. Okay, hot takes, but I'm ready.
Great. We are ready to. So excited to talk about it with you. But first, before we get into Amazing Race specifically, we always like to ask our guests kind of what your entry point was into reality TV to start off with. What was the show that first got you hooked and got you to where you are now, talking about it on RJP?
Great question. This is funny because I was on reality TV in India. Um
Oh,
I was actually on an MTV show. I like skipped
wow.
school when I in like the 6th grade, I want to say. And I lived in Mumbai, right, which is like LA, very much like you always know someone that knows someone.
Hmm.
So yeah, someone like one of my friends at school was like her mom was casting for the show or something like that. I can't fully remember. And she was like, "Do you want to come?" And me and this other girl who now is a close friend, but we weren't necessarily like besties. And it was a like best friend special on MTV. And you
Oh,
and your bestie competed against another pair. Um in like these imagine like a TRL. I think that's the
okay, yeah.
best way. Like that was the
Molly's too young to
vibe.
remember that, but I do.
Right. But that was like the vibe of the show, like 106 in
Yeah.
Park, like stuff like that. So yeah, and that's how like we anyway, we ended up somehow getting the call back, and we ended up competing and winning. So it was really fun.
Whoa.
And then I've been on a few and I was in dance troops as well in India, and they were also on dance competition shows. So it's always been
Okay.
like part of my life growing up. And people in India really enjoy like all kinds of shows. I feel like a lot back, especially when I was growing up, it felt very much like, oh, this is a thing we're all doing together, like, oh, everyone's watching this show. So we had the American shows like Fear Factor, all of that used to come on in India, and I was
Hmm.
watching Fear Factor with now podcaster. And very
Yeah,
interesting. So, and then
yeah.
India had its versions of those as well. So we had like it's called MTV Roadies, where they were all on like bikes and doing badass stuff. But the closest would
Okay,
be like
different
the
from Road
challenge.
Rules. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but like close to like the challenge.
Okay.
Except like the guests, or not the guests, the judges were like they had a panel of judges, and each judge had a
Oh.
team. But it was like really
Oh.
ruthless and mean and lots of
No.
cursing. I don't know how I was watching all this growing up, but here we are. And so, moving to America, I almost missed all these shows. And my stepdad was a big Brother fan. So
Mm.
he used to watch Big Brother like religiously. And him and my stepbrother like recorded everything, like all of that. So that's how I got into Big Brother and The Amazing Race. I think because it's probably just coming on at this similar times, and I
Yeah.
really got into it. And I said, "Yes, I've made it. I found it." And then I just ended up watching all kinds of other reality TV because we're all obsessed. Here we are.
Yeah. Yes. Love it's a little community. It feels like anytime you
Yes,
find someone that watches a show with you, it's like, oh, you have something to talk about. It's great. That's why I love the reality TV community.
exactly. I'm just glad we all
Um,
found each other.
Yes, exactly. Do you have any favorite seasons, favorite teams from the
Ooh.
past seasons of The Amazing Race?
Of course, the Twinnies. I love them. They're a hot mess. The Afghanimals as well for the
Hmm.
Amazing Race. And I know it's basic, but season 5 really is so good and so
It is.
ridiculous. The reality show one. I will never remember
Oh,
numbers, so please. Don't ask me.
Season
But I
31, I think you're talking about the like
see,
from Big
wow,
Brother
amazing.
Survivor, like all is that what you're
Yes,
referring to?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's the way I'm a stan, but like I will never remember numbers. Like don't ever ask me. But
Yeah, I don't
but
remember the numbers either. And Michael
see,
always
And
just
that's
comes
all
up
I
with
remember.
all
Like,
of
if you
them.
ask me what happened during that season, I couldn't remember, but I can tell you who was on it and the number of it and whatever, all the basic stats. But then I don't remember like half of what happened. So
this is why y'all are a great
together
team.
we're
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so but really to me yeah, and then oh my god, not me forgetting Colin and his dad who had cancer.
Oh,
Um
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that was the name. I mean, the soccer, right? Like, yeah.
I
Survivor.
know who
I
you're talking about.
loved
Yeah.
them. Yeah. So it's just to me, every season has endearing people. That again, that's one of the reasons why I love The Amazing Race. But I love like, Twinnies and Afghanimals. I think are just people that I think I would be like hot
Hmm.
mess. Acting out, screaming, but hopefully kind of good at the
Yeah.
race. Bless the animal's heart. Like I feel like they should have won the second time they came, but they didn't. That vault really got them.
Yeah.
Boo. But I think I might also be really close to the 20s and that I would just lose it.
It's so funny. I don't even think of them from The Amazing Race. Like you had to remind
I
me. Oh
know.
my God, they are from The Amazing Race. I just think of them from Survivor. But
They're the reason I started watching Survivor.
Oh.
oh, really? So San Juan del
Yes.
Sur was your first Survivor season?
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
that feels like such a perfect Sasha season.
I know. I
Like
know.
that is such a perfect one for you to start on. Like I wonder if you would start it on more of like a game strategy heavy season if you would have kept watching.
I enjoy it, but like whatever. I love
Yeah,
mess. I love mess, and I
yeah.
want my faves to dominate. Like I don't like that underdog stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we can go ahead then and get into this season premiere that we just watched. Molly, what did you think of the premiere?
I really enjoyed it. I feel like, I mean, we had a lot of teams, so there were a lot of different teams to see and how they were going to do. But I enjoyed just seeing the twist that they had and overall, like, how obviously, like, we're going to see struggles and things of people having experiences like that. I feel like we already got a lot of tears, and so that was exciting to see. So I feel like overall, we got a lot in this premiere.
It was good. Like I think that I don't remember anyone's name at the end of Amazing Grace premiere ever, and especially when we have 14 teams. But yeah, like I feel like they did a pretty good job of giving some good character development, which sometimes the Amazing Grace struggles to do. I feel like it's like very fast paced a lot, especially when now that they have 90-minute episodes, it's like better, I think. But especially when it was just like an hour, it was just like go, go, go. And it was like, oh, I don't even know who any of these people are. But I feel like we got to know enough about them, and I'll have 90 minutes throughout the whole season. So I think we're in for a good ride. What did you think, Sasha?
Yeah, very similar to y'all where I like literally Googled their names and I have a sheet in front of me so that, I don't look a mess and I come prepared for y'all. But yeah, I was like,
Appreciate it.
yeah, I was like, what? These two were in here? I don't even remember. Like,
Yeah.
and specifically Han and Holden, I said, who were they? And when they checked in at the mat, I was like, what do you mean? Like, no way they've been here. You're lying. And because
Yeah.
the others, I can be like, oh, I kind of remember you. Okay, at least like I seen some of this. Han and Holden, what? Impossible that they were on this race, but it's fine, I guess. Here we are, and Bernie and Kerrigan as well. Where I just was having
Mhm.
like I can't believe that these are also on here. But either way, any Amazing Race is good. So, and I actually like the 14 teams. I don't know. Do y'all do?
I did.
I think so because well, they eliminated two tonight, so I
Yeah.
feel like we'll
Oh,
be back
fair.
to a pretty normal amount for the future episodes. I always struggle, like I feel like the more people, the less I get to know them. Whereas if it was like 11 teams, I probably would have like felt like I knew each of them a little bit better. But I'm fine with it because like I feel like this allows them to hopefully not do so many non-elimination legs, which are always a little bit of a downer. So I think, as long as we can kind of use this as a way to keep it interesting more consistently throughout the season, then I'm good with it. But
Yeah.
so we have also this season the oldest cast in the Amazing Race history. They announced. Do did we notice that at all? Like, do we think that that is going to make this season feel any different than a normal season, or was that something that just doesn't really matter to you? Molly, what did you think?
I feel like I didn't totally notice that, but now looking back at these pictures, I'm like, okay, yeah, they are old. So I don't know how like the all the gray hairs. But I think that makes it interesting too, because then it adds to it, I think, in a good way, that then you care more about, like, oh, they're old but they're not giving up and like trying for new things and all this stuff. And not that old, but in general, like that they're still
Yeah.
adventurous and have that spirit, which I think is inspiring, I guess. I mean, I'm looking at it like, oh, I could do that in 30 years, like that's kind of entertaining to see.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like we said with Golden Bachelor, I think that older cast is, and we look Big Brother 10, which I think they're talking about right as we speak on the BB Retrospective podcast. And like older cast members are so great, and I feel like they're not appreciated enough on these shows. I think they always think, oh, we want like hot young people that like to get a younger audience, but older people are just, I think, they have more life experience, they're more interesting. That's always how I feel.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this cast, right? Like I will die for Pops, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Pops, please. And I realize I'm wearing the same color as their team. Look at me, brain. But and I'm just looking at again Mark and Larry, RIP, but felt very interesting from jump, right? Like them at the airport where they just wouldn't
Hmm.
give their names. They're just like, well, we're older men and we're this and we're that. What was going on, right? But this is what we're gonna get from older people. I just feel
Yeah.
like we're gonna get a little bit more spice, and that's what we need. Because do y'all remember Mark and Mark and
Yes, Mark
Bopper
and
from
Bopper. Yeah.
Kentucky?
Hmm.
Right, and that is like the quintessential older team that you just
Hmm.
because you just love them. They're definitely gonna like stumble, like that man trying to do the Bollywood dance, like bless his heart. But then you're still remembering like, but they did it, and they're they
Right.
didn't win, but they killed it. So that's what I love, like an older team.
Hmm.
But I'm interested to see an older team that isn't maybe Mark and Larry, but in Pops and Jeff that. Or just Pops, really. That like, how is that going to work? Just because last time I feel like Danny and his mom were the closest we got to like an older person, especially a woman, like killing it and almost
Yeah.
winning it all.
Yeah, I always think back to season one of The Amazing Race, if I
Mm.
remember right, had like an older team that made it really far. Like I think they made it to top 5 or 6 maybe. And like
Yes.
they were very competitive. And of course I can't remember their names. But I remember like even just way back then, like that was so inspiring. That was so cool to be like, oh my God, they're keeping up with all these younger teams. And yeah, I just think that's always such a great story when that happens on a show like this. So this season is dubbed the season of surprises, and each leg has its own unique twist. So they're bringing back a bunch of old twists like the intersection, fast forward, U-turn. We saw a brand new one on this leg called the fork in the road. But are there any twists that we're looking forward to seeing make a comeback later on in the season? Sasha, what are you excited to see?
Okay, I love a good U-turn. Unless it's again my faves that get U-turn, then I hate it and don't ever ask me and delete this footage. But yeah, I you know what I'm really struggling. Like I enjoy the twist, like whatever Amazing Race wants to do. I am really missing them picking their own flights.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
bring that back. I don't care how hard it is, let's figure something out. I get that we're at least getting the staggered flights, but then we get an great multiple great equalizers, and then what's the point of the
Yeah.
flights? So for me, I know it's not fair, it's not a twist, maybe hard to do in these times, but I want them to be able to book their flights again.
I agree with that. That was so fun. Like I just remember like people staying overnight at the airport and like waiting for it to open and get on the first flight and like having to beg the airline people to get them on a better flight and like running around the airport. Like that was so much fun. And that was one of the things that made the show so unique was that all that airport drama. And yeah, I mean, it's better than when they had to do the charter flights for COVID. So we're at least back to somewhat normal with that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I totally agree with you. I miss that too. But Molly, anything you're excited to see?
Yeah, I'm also excited for the U-turn, unless it's also my favorite team that gets chosen. But I feel like that's always fun because then it's like, well, if someone's taking the lead as a consistent top team, then they can obviously have a big challenge there, and that makes it difficult and a little bit
Yeah.
more set the level playing field there, maybe. But I think that one just. I remember that whenever I first started watching Amazing Race, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting that this team has to turn around now and like get
Yeah.
that back."
Yeah, it like creates some sort of like inter-team drama, which I love on this
Yeah.
show, is when teams can like do things to sabotage others and we get some beefs and some drama. Like that's something that we get like more rarely on the Amazing Race than strategy shows like Survivor Big Brother. So I love those elements that kind of like add that element a little bit into the show. So the race begins in Los Angeles at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. Phil announces that the teams will encounter the first ever fork in the road this leg. So we didn't get exactly what it meant right then, but we do find out later that it means that equally the 14 teams have to divide into two teams of seven, or not really teams, but each seven teams get to choose one task to do. Seven teams go on another task, and then they each have their own race to the pit stop separately from the others, and the last team to arrive at the pit stop from each of those will be eliminated. So, what did y'all think of that twist? Molly, what did you think?
I think it was a good twist, especially because we knew that it was going to have a double elimination. That it kind of makes sense that either side like doesn't have was going to have someone to go home. So I think overall, like it wasn't like I feel like they couldn't get too crazy with the first twist here. So like it made sense for this for how many teams they had. Like they had to cut it down. So I didn't have any problems, and I think it makes sense that also they had different um what are they called, like the like not
Challenges or
challenge,
Oh,
yeah,
the tasks, yeah.
tasks?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
tasks,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many words in these things.
Yeah.
So the different tasks they had to do, like I like that they could choose that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Sasha, what did you think?
I okay, I like the idea of it. And I think it was really great. But I personally hate when I think it's detours, right?
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
was thinking it's so similar to
Right.
that.
Yeah, where I just feel like one yeah, it just feels like a detour number 1. And then secondly, let's say we're going with that ideology, right? One felt so much easier than the other.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
if I am the last team eliminated on the faster challenge, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the only reason. Like I don't know how you fix that. And maybe the game's the game, and that's fine. But damn if I don't feel for Mark and Larry, right? Who
Mhm.
did the lion dance and then had to be like, ah shucks. And I think finished in front of at least 3 teams.
Yeah.
I think that everybody who did okay, I'm gonna get this mixed up, but I think everybody who did dance finished before six of the seven teams from Team Sing.
Okay, right. Okay, I couldn't
I
remember. Yeah.
believe that's correct.
Oof.
Which is crazy. Yeah, that Mark and Larry had to be eliminated when they finished
Mhm.
like eighth technically out of the 14
Exactly.
teams. Yeah, I think that the only thing that I feel like, and I know this probably logistically would have made things way more difficult for production, but I think that this would have been so much better if they had split them up earlier in the leg and had them do like a
Mm.
completely different set of tasks. Like rather than it just being this one at the very end of the leg, then it just feels like a detour. Like it doesn't feel like that interesting to me. But like having them do like a completely like just separate thing and then coming back together at the end, I think would have been a little bit more interesting to me as a twist. But it was fine. It
You
didn't like
know,
it hurt the game.
You know what else would have been really interesting now that you've talked about this? They were running like, yeah, two different races. Maybe only two tasks are on in at a fork in the road, something like that.
Yeah.
But what would it look like if you didn't know where you stood, but the final task is all together?
Oh yeah. I think that's
but
really interesting.
but let's say like I am in sing and you did dance, and I'm technically ahead of you, but you have no idea, and I'm not allowed to tell obviously what I did.
Right.
Or maybe you know what I did, but either way I wonder if there's logistically, and for us maybe something fun, to
Hmm.
be like, oh, we have no idea actually when they're gonna finish.
I like that. Yeah, because I always like when they're surprised at the pit stop and they really
Mm-hmm.
like think, "Oh my God, am I first or last?" Like I have no idea. I think that would be yeah, that would be really interesting. That would have been a better, and I think that could have been a better way to do in the future when they don't have to eliminate two teams.
Yes,
Because I feel like now it
fair.
was kind of like they did it as a way to eliminate two teams and not just have it be the bottom two. But in the future, if they decide to bring this back, I think that's an interesting way for them to do it.
Yeah, I would agree.
So the teams get their first clue and see that they're going to Hong Kong, China, which love that. I've never been to Hong Kong, so that was always cool to see a place you've never been. And four teams get on the first flight. It's Jonathan and Anna, Carson and Jack, Melinda and Erica, Courtney and Jasmine, and that's an 11:30 flight. And then all the other teams are on a 12:30 flight an hour later. Now, the fact that they're only 1 hour apart, I don't love because well, I mean, I guess it does make it so that the no teams are just like so far ahead that they can't be caught up to, and no team is really far behind. But it does kind of make it almost pointless for them to be taking two flights because, like, there's an equalizer at the ferry that it doesn't really matter too much here. But, it creates some drama, I guess. But,
How do y'all feel if you're Jonathan and Anna? Right? I
yeah.
hustled using the cabs, like the poor cab driver's like phone. I'm going, we gotta do this, we gotta get to get that like 30-minute jump, even on the first hour teams. All of that to just fly
Yeah.
by. And I know I'm jumping, but I just feel like that's so, like that is my highlight low light of this episode.
I felt bad for them there. I was like, wow, they were doing so well, and then they had to wait, like with everyone else still.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things where it's like I guess there's nothing they can do about it because the ferry schedule
Mhm.
is the ferry schedule. So I mean, like I don't know how much the show can actually control that. But yeah, I always hate that when there's an equalizer like that and all the work that teams have done to make it far ahead, it just completely evaporates and there's really nothing that they could have done about it to do any better than they did. But I guess that's the amazing race. That's always been the case. Always,
Yep.
always been that way. But yeah, so like you said, the so after arriving in Hong Kong, the teens take a taxi and they climb hundreds of steps to get to their clue at I'm going to pronounce this wrong and I apologize. The Tian Tan Buddha.
Makes sense
uh,
to me.
Carson and Jack were the first to get their clue. Jackie and Lauren were the last, and we had this great moment that I loved with Jackie, and she gets emotional going down the stairs due to a fall that she had at where she was at home and fell down the stairs of her house, which resulted in her having to get surgery, which is crazy. As they were preparing for a hurricane, which look, I can I appreciate that. So I love these little moments that where we get to know the teams on a better, basis and really like get to root for them and then of course for them just to go home tonight. But but I still love that we got to see that little moment with Jackie and Lauren.
Yeah, I like that too. And I feel like at first I was like, why is she afraid of these stairs? And then the explanation obviously made sense and it made me feel for her. And then it was like, oh, such a good moment that she made it through. And so it was just all around heartwarming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just love them. Jackie followed me on Instagram like before the
Oh.
season started, and I was like, "Who? Like this is so random." But then she's like from Texas, so I was like, maybe I know her. And then Chappelle ends up actually knowing them and sends me
Oh
a
really?
selfie with them yesterday. So it's just
Oh.
they seem so sweet. And I really and and not just sweet, like badass. So I was very confused as to like, how it all actually came to be, but they just seemed so interesting and just so like fun that I can't believe this is the outcome. But seeing them on those steps, and then seeing them just conquer every single thing, being that behind, I'm saying I'll take the penalty and let me just go to the end.
Yeah, no, and I love that even though they were only here for a short time, that we did get this moment with them. I feel like in a lot of seasons, especially that were just like, an hour instead of 90 minutes, like that may have been something that got cut out, that little moment
Hmm.
there, in favor of, just kind of trying to make it all fast paced and show everything. And I love that kind of we're able to slow down, show us a moment of them getting down the stairs, getting this huge accomplishment, and then when they get to the end, even though they only were on for one episode, we feel like we got to know them a little bit, and I love that. So they, all the teams, take the Sun Ferry to another word I'm going to pronounce wrong, Cheung Chau Island, and they get their next clue there. Anna and Jonathan are the first to get here and are able to leave without any other teams getting on that first ferry. Every other team is on the next one except for Jackie and Lauren, who take the a later ferry. But this lead doesn't really end up mattering. The roadblock here is that one team member has to climb to the top of a tower, and this was so interesting to me that I guess this tower they have to collect buns normally. Do we know what this is exactly? Why do people do this?
I have no idea, but it looked interesting. It was all bamboo.
Yeah, yeah. So they took away all the buttons and just put the clues at the top, and they had to
Which,
climb up to get the clues.
yeah, I was like, well, I would have liked the buns,
I would too.
because it seems like it's a festival or a competition, right? Um,
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, either way, India has a competition where you have to get on, and it's a it's like part of a religious festival, but it's like a pyramid of people, and then the person at the top opens or bursts, I'm trying to say it in English, or bursts open a pot, like a clay pot with like yogurt coming out.
Oh.
And it's because that god Krishna used to like eat yogurt and used to steal yogurt. So the
Oh.
competition is like who can break the clay pot fastest. But I mean, again, it's like, and you're showing off that, oh, I can do it, and it's like 100 people team. It's not like small
Yeah.
pyramids. These are like huge pyramids. People fall, you have to build it back up. So to me, that's the vibe it was giving,
Yeah.
right, where it's like something to do with like climbing and really like exciting things that they had to adjust for the amazing race.
Yeah, I could see that. That feels a very similar vibe to me. But yeah, that was it. I love when things like this, like we get to kind of get to know the country better. These challenges that
Hmm.
it's like, okay, we're having them do something that is very traditional in the country that they're in, and I love that because otherwise it just kind of feels like the country's a background and they're just like running from place to place doing things, but we don't really get to like actually experience the country itself. And I love when things like this you kind of get to know the culture a little bit better. But every so Anna and Jonathan are the first to complete this, and they complete it before any other team even arrives. So at this point, it feels like okay, it's their leg to lose. Like they're so far ahead that none of the teams are going to be able to catch up with them. But then we get to the fork in the road. So teams have to decide which route that they want to choose to get to the pit stop, like we talked about. The teams have to divide evenly with 7 on each route. One team from each route will be eliminated at the pit stop here. So Anna and Jonathan, at this point, they're waiting for their ferry to get back, and they completely lose whatever lead they had. All the other teams start to catch up with them, and they are still waiting there for their ferry. So I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but what do we think about these types of equalizers that cause these teams that are so far ahead to lose it? Because this one doesn't feel as like man-made to me as some of the other ones. Like some of the time on this show, it's like they force you to wait a certain amount of time before you can do something, or like it just feels like totally made up by the show to keep the show interesting. But I don't know if that was the goal here or whether this was just kind of something that happened. I don't know if ferries were delayed. I don't know what the issue was exactly, but it just felt like, yeah, all the teams kind of met up here.
Yeah, I felt for them, for especially like with how big of a lead they had, that like it felt like it didn't matter at that point because it's like, well, now you don't have a lead, you're just here with everyone else. But I mean that it is based on the very schedule, so it wasn't really in their control at all. So it happened that way, unfortunately.
And what a team to happen to, right? Because we hear their story and we're like, oh, they're like trying really hard to get back together, and like, that's really sweet, blah blah blah, or not get back together, but like, you know what I mean, like
They
keep
had their
stay
struggles in the
together,
past.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
uh, I should say, but either way, very sweet. You're just like, oh shucks, da da da, and then the ending, they were like, I felt like, oh, this is the like back in the day, early 2000s man that was like, not good enough. So I thought that was so funny that looking back, that this particular thing happened to them. Couldn't write it better.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I feel like in some ways, sure, like maybe the leg would have been a little bit more boring if they had just had this lead the whole time. So I can't complain too much, but definitely feel for them. Maybe once, later on in the season, once we kind of are more invested in the teams, I'll probably have stronger feelings against something like that happening to one that I never claim to be fair or unbiased
Yep.
here on Let's Chat Reality. So we learned what the two tasks are for the fork in the road. Nick and Mike are actually the first to get there, and they have to choose between dance or sing. So dance teams must bring a lion to life by learning a choreographed routine, and in sing, the teams must learn how to perform and sing lines from a Cantonese opera. So Sasha, which would you have chosen?
I think I would. Okay, so I would have chosen the dance because I think that's just what I think I could do better. And depending on who my partner was. But in my mind, I think I would have been like, singing has to be the easier, like in my mind, not actually.
Yeah.
Oh, singing has to be the easier one. You probably just have to memorize stuff, but dancing is like a bunch of things. So I think I hope I would have picked dance.
Molly, what would you have picked?
I definitely would have done dance. I'm just not a good singer overall. And I feel like also, I know one of the teams actually noticed this, but they were like, oh, it's also in a different language. So that adds another aspect to it. It's not
Mhm.
just your language you're remembering, it's another language that you don't know, primarily, probably, that you don't know, that you have to learn the song for. So for that reason, I would have definitely chosen dance as well.
Yeah, I think that this is something that I probably wouldn't have thought of, and I probably like instinctually would have chosen sing just because I think, yeah, like look, I was a theater kid, so I know like choreography is not my strong suit, but I would have thought like, oh yeah, like I can remember lyrics pretty easily, and that would be a lot easier. But I don't know that I would have realized the fact that like there is also choreography involved in sing
Mhm.
challenge, and so like it's kind of you're having to do both to a certain degree. Whereas dance, like I don't think there was any singing involved. So at least it's just like one. Okay, you're learning the steps and that's it. So I think that definitely seemed like that was the smarter choice, but I don't know that I would have thought that. But also you have to think about how many teams are, if you're not one of the first teams to get there, it's like, okay, there's already four teams doing this one. Like if I choose sing, then the teams behind me are going to be like, I can actually watch them and like, actually be right in front of them versus I don't know if the teams behind me are going to a one that ends up being easier, then I'm screwed. So I feel like you have to kind of think of the strategy like that as well.
Yeah, and Jonathan and Anna tried it. It
Yeah.
did not work because they end up choosing, I feel like, the wrong detour, obviously, because Anna said she was a dancer, and then they chose the
Yeah.
singing, which like, even more mess. But I was also surprised. I don't know about you. Again, this I think this goes back to our like the conversation we started with. I don't know these teams, but this is where we got to know. Right, we have Vegas performers. We have someone that's been on Broadway, and then there would be little old me competing with them. Like their job is literally to
Yeah.
sit there, right, and learn choreography quickly, and then you have to beat them. Oh, that would be so annoying.
Yeah. I loved watching challenges like this, like where they have to learn things. Like, it's so much fun, especially like when they first start doing it and they're just totally off. They're like, "We got this. We don't have to try." Like, who was it? Carson and Jack, I think, were just like, "We didn't
Mhm.
practice a lot. We'll just try it and see, what happens."
They
And like,
did
they did
pretty good
probably better
though.
than I would have done, but
100%.
yeah, that goes to show, like, yeah, how am I going to compete with a team like that in a dancing challenge? But I guess you don't really have to be first on the
Yeah.
Amazing Race. You just have to not be last.
Correct.
But in the pit stop, like we said before, pretty much all of Team Dance gets there very quickly. Carson and Jack, Brett and Mark, Ernest and Bridget, Bernie and Kerrigan, Nick and Mike, and Courtney and Jasmine all get there pretty early on, and they are all safe. And then Mark and Larry are unfortunately the first to be eliminated from Team Dance. So we'll be surprised to see Mark and Larry get eliminated here. Sasha, what do you think?
No, right, unfortunately. I wish I could say yes, but no, but I like them so much. I found their story to be really interesting. They're not partners like romantically.
I don't think so.
But they were okay
Yeah.
because I was like, that is so cute that they're motorcycle riders and partners. No, that's fiction. Yeah, I enjoyed them, and I wish we could have known their story more, because and that's what the Amazing Race does so well, which is why I think it's one of probably the hardest casting.
Yeah.
Is that just people have such interesting stories that go on this show. So yeah, I just Mark and Larry, like, tell us your whole story, write a book, do a little podcast, whatever. First listener right here. Yeah, but besides that, no. But are y'all surprised about Courtney and Jasmine still somehow making it?
Yeah, I was. I feel like, well, like at first I was nervous for them in the episode, like when we were seeing them like
Right.
so far behind, but then they chose the better one to make it through. So,
Yeah. And that's where an equalizer can do. Like, you could be so far behind, and then, like, we say that it screws the team in the front, but it really helps the team in the back.
Yep.
And like, all it has to be is a totally different set of challenges, different cab driver, who knows, and all your luck can completely change. So yeah, that's
You live
that's
and die by the cabs, man. More than anything else,
yeah.
you have to. I swear, you gotta pray every night, sage yourself, because you gotta be like, please, Lord, for nothing else, let me get the right cab driver, that will give me their phone or something,
Yeah.
that'll just trust me and my vibes.
There was,
But
oh my God, I'm trying to remember what team it was. Like, it was like in the early days of the Amazing Race, and there was a cab driver that had to go to the bathroom, and like the team was actually eliminated because their cab driver had to go to the
yes.
bathroom.
So
Like,
there,
how wild.
yeah. So usually you also have to stop if your crew has to go to the bathroom. Then you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
pause. So I'm sure you like align it to where like you just all have to go, and like everyone has that. Hopefully, like, will bump, speed bump, in Amazing Grace terms. But what if my crew just like is good and like doesn't need to go as much? I'm not thinking of peeing, I'll tell you that. There's
Oh my
no
God,
way.
imagine if I'm a like crew on this show, and my
Yes.
having to go to the bathroom makes another team lose $1 million. I would never be able to sleep at night. Like,
Well,
that
yeah,
would.
Danny and Angie. No, yeah, but Danny and his mom will like to have a word.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
That's the
my
show. I
gosh.
have to say though,
Yep.
and every time I watch The Amazing Race, I am reminded of this. How impressive this crew is that we never see them. How is it on such a
Yes.
fast-paced show? How they are never get each other in the camera shot? Like most shows, it's like
Hmm.
you're watching one conversation for a long period of time, or you're maybe following someone who's walking. But on this show, they're constantly running, driving, like all this stuff. I don't know how we never see the crew.
Again, this is why they get paid the big bucks, but I wonder
Yeah,
if it's
I hope
actually
they
good.
are. I
But
don't
yeah.
know if they are. But one of the funny things though about Mark and Larry, before we get off of them, that I saw in their interview with Mike Bloom this morning was that they they decided to, like, before the race started. I guess it was the day when they were doing their promo shoot, and Larry decided to, like, or I guess it was Mark decided to, like, kind of tell a couple of teams that Larry is someone famous, and they're like, and they were telling them like, oh, they like purposely in earshot of another team were like, Larry, I don't think they know who you are, and they like word spread around all the teams like, who's Larry, and then they find out that he is nobody famous. So I love things like that.
That's so
Perfection.
funny.
See, perfect. This is why they need to start their own. Like
Yeah,
something. Like just give me like 1 90 minute, like, this is who we are here. This is how we got here.
yeah,
Because
for
what
sure.
the hell? And is that why wait, Michael, now that you said that, is that why they wouldn't give their names at the airport?
Maybe
Because
it
they
could
wanted to
be.
keep the
Yeah,
rumors
now
going?
that you say that, that clicks,
Oh,
puts two and two together. That could be.
because they
They're
were being
committed to the bit.
so, yeah, they were being like bizarro at the airport, where I was like, are y'all good? Like, why are we acting so, like, what's going on? Like, in my mind, I'm like, maybe the biker gang, like, didn't want, like, club, sorry, that's rude, didn't want people to know who y'all are. Is that the tea? Like, what's going on? No.
It was all for this little bit that they did. They're gonna sacrifice $1 million
I
to
need to
commit to
text
the
my
bit.
glue and ask
Yeah,
this, because this is so funny.
please do, and keep us posted.
Oh my God, will do.
So Team Sing was pretty much the next to arrive at the pit stop. Alyssa and Josiah were the only ones to arrive before some of the Team Dance crew. And next were Jonathan and Anna, Scott and Lori, Pops and Jeff, Han and Holden, and Melinda and Erica. And then followed by Jackie and Lauren, who were eliminated here, which I was really sad by. Like, even more, I love Mark and Larry, but even more than that, just because we got this story of Jackie and Lauren, and they just seem so supportive of each other. Like, and they're just so grateful to be there. And that's always so sad. Like, it's one of those teams that, like, they're not long for this game, but I really hope they're there for as long as they possibly can be. So always sad to see a team like that go first.
And they felt like, to me, they read fit and really, like, they're gonna get it.
Yeah.
They're gonna get eliminated, but like middle elimination is what they were
Mm.
giving me, right? Where this is the one where they're like, we might be old, or older, sorry, but like, we're not, we're, don't count us out. Look at us, blah blah blah. And I almost thought like a Melinda or Erica were gonna be the ones eliminated. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And fair. Like, I'm excited to get to know them too. I found it like pre-season that it's what I would have thought. But I just feel like women teams, man. It's just we can't get it
Oh,
done.
I know. Well, we lost a guy team too.
Yes,
Fair.
but older
So the
guy
wrong
guys.
one. I know, wrong one.
Yeah,
But
but yeah,
yeah,
I
far
would
be it
never
from me
go on the Amazing Race with another woman. Like, there's no
to.
way.
Well, look, we've seen some. I mean, Dustin and Candace were the OG kind of like strong female team that almost won. We've seen who's the first one? Season 17, I think, had the first all female winning team. It was I forgot their names, but yeah, it was a long time
Yeah.
before we saw a
And
female
then the
winner.
scientists, right, have been the last.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot all
Amy
everyone's
and
names.
something. Yes.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. That was
Yeah.
fairly recently, right? That was just
The
like maybe 3 or 4
20s.
seasons ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So
Yeah, so it
yeah,
has been
it's
a
just, I
while.
think male female teams like have a little bit of an edge, even though like I know male teams like have, like, they can power through, but I like a good male female team.
Yeah, same. Well, speaking on the kind of the subject, who are our winner picks? If we wanted to kind of just
Ooh.
after episode 1 predict who we think is going to win, Molly, you got one?
I think maybe Alyssa and Josiah because they're young and then like they have both like the Alyssa's like very sporty and obviously Josiah is also fit, but like I think because they just seem like they have good communication as well and overall they seem to be working really well together so far, so I'm rooting for them.
Okay. Sasha, what do you think?
Yeah, Molly, I was thinking about that too, that they finished the harder task first.
Yeah.
So that's huge. For them is, I think, okay, heart-wise, I would love a Pops and Jeff win, but like if Jonathan and Anna are not gonna flame out, right? Like, oh, I didn't make it first every single time. I don't. I like them to win. Or I wonder if like Brett and Mark could pull this out. Like as a sleeper pick because they just feel interesting enough, but not like super in your face that maybe they
Yeah.
won't get targeted. Versus I can see Jonathan and Anna getting targeted. So I know I'm cheating, but officially Jonathan and Anna. But don't sleep on the other two.
Yeah, and I could see like, when we talk about teams getting targeted, I could see that this season maybe having a bigger impact than maybe some others because we have a
Mm-hmm.
twist every week that
Yes.
like there are going to be a lot of those that have some sort of like teams have to pick each other, whether it's, some sort of like an intersection, is it called, when they like the teams have to pair together to do things, and then they have like the U-turn obviously. So like that social dynamic might impact this season more than we've seen in a long time, so that is something to think about for sure. But I
Yes.
think I'm gonna go with Nick and Mike. And far be it for me
Yeah.
to pick a male team to root for. But they're such big fans of the show that I like them. Like this, they seem like they applied what, like 6, 7 times or something.
Mhm.
So I always root for somebody like that who, has been trying to get on for so long. Big fans of the show, so they probably understand those kind of like little things that you might not pick up on originally, that a fan of the show will know how to like work different twists like that to their advantage. Like they'll hear something, they'll know immediately like, oh yeah, I know how to like do this, in the most strategic way. So I could see them being a threat to win this.
Yeah,
But
I like that actually. There was someone I was thinking about too, but here we are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to next season of The Amazing Race, we have heard some exciting news about season 38, that they're going to have Big Brother alum paired up with a loved one in kind of like a blood versus water type way. Now, Sasha, I know you are also a huge Big Brother fan.
Yes.
This is combining two of our favorite things together. Who are some people you're hoping to see on that season?
Listen, come on, Siri. Let's finish the
Oh,
trifecta, right?
yes, of
Let's just
course.
come on. Okay.
Do we want her with Jared, though?
Hmm. Wow. Come on, Siri. Yeah. I just feel like looking at who they've had from Big Brother before, I can't imagine that it's gonna be Suri.
Yeah.
So Suri's who I'd enjoy. I would like a Jag. Because here's the
Ooh.
thing, South Asians, right? We
Yeah.
don't be doing well. They cast us on The Amazing Race, and that's nice. But I don't know that we do so hot. Or we go just far enough, but we
Yeah.
just I don't know. I don't believe any South Asian. I don't believe
Not
any South
not that I
Asians have won.
remember.
Right. Okay. At least not anything that we remember.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd like a Jag.
I
Um.
could see Jag and Jazz, his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense
I
to me.
find
That feels
I
like an
would
amazing
think
race team.
yeah, because and they're like fun. And I met them. I like they have a
Yeah.
vibe that they can get them cast. So I hope it's someone like that. And like I said, I would love a South Asian team
Yeah,
on.
sure.
But let's see. It better not be no like Big Brother 21 or some random stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Molly, any names that you're looking at?
I would love to see Angela on Big
Oh,
Brother. Or
okay.
sorry, from
Oh,
Big
Angela
Mm.
Brother on
Murray. Why am I
Amazing.
thinking Angela Rummans, like from season
No, no.
20? I was
Oh,
like, oh, that's random. Okay.
Oh
Sure,
no,
Molly.
Angela, our favorite. No,
Didn't know
she
you were
would
such
be.
an Angela stan.
Yeah. No, Angela would be so funny, and I feel like, and she could bring her son to do it with her.
yes. Or her
Yeah.
So I think
brother,
that could be
not brother,
good.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be fun too.
Did you do the chores? Did you do the
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, but I kind of want him not to be there so that she can, like, as they're in the taxi, just like look in the camera and like ask him to do things for
That's so
them.
fun.
Oh,
What
but
about you,
yes, no,
Michael?
Angela Murray for sure needs to be on there. I don't care how she does, even if she's the first one out. I just want to see her for like as long as we get her.
Yeah.
Non
Um,
elimination leg, baby.
yeah, anytime she's in the last, just a non-elimination like that.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
who do I want to see on there? I mean, I feel like we have to have the Wurtenberger team, right? Like that just
Yeah.
feels like that makes sense. So I feel like we're gonna see Corey and Zach there. Um, and then yeah, I am trying to think. I mean, yeah, of course we have to have Sari to complete the trifecta. We have to have Um, gosh, who else? Like, I feel like they're gonna pick some random people for some reason. Like, I feel like we're gonna see like some, like, I feel like I've heard Amira in the mix a little bit, which is so random.
Okay.
But like,
Amira and Holmes, you know,
I
like
don't know. But that's like the one name that I feel like I've heard of. Like, okay, sure. And then, I mean, we Tucker, I feel like is an obvious pick because he's not doing the
yeah.
challenge. That made me like so confused when I didn't see him on that list. Once we got a Cedric name the other day added to that list, that was like, okay, well now that we're adding 26ers, like where's Tucker? So that makes a lot of sense to me that he's doing the Amazing Race maybe instead,
You
and
know
can't do both.
who would be fun? Tiffany. I
Yeah.
think Tiffany would be really interesting. Hannah or Chada would be really
Yeah.
interesting as well.
Taylor, I
Yeah,
feel
Taylor.
like
That's what I
is
was gonna say.
yeah.
Taylor would be fun. Taylor and Joseph, like as friends, could
Oh
be
yeah, that would
like
be a
a
good
bomb
team.
team and so good looking. My God, just to look at
Yeah.
them,
Oh
put them
yeah.
on.
I feel like they're not doing like paired like Big Brother alum paired with each other though, is my
Yeah,
understanding.
I
So I feel
know.
like they
Me
wouldn't be
when I
together.
heard
But I could
that.
see them even both separately. Like I feel like they're
Hmm.
both big enough names. Like I feel like absolutely I could see them both separately. But yeah, I'm excited for that season. I love I loved the whatever they called it, the reality, like the Survivor Amazing Race. I
Yes.
literally have funny enough, I have the oh my god, I'm gonna everything is about to fall from my desk. Oh my god, but I have that season on DVD.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. I just have a clue in my background. You're a Stan. I love it.
So yeah, so I'm excited for that coming up and a lot to look forward to. So Sasha, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on with us to talk some amazing race here. We got to have you back when the
Oh my
especially when
god,
the Big Brother
yes.
season starts, if not before.
Happy
Um,
to be back. And thank you to both of you for asking me to
oh
be
my
on this.
gosh, of
Just
course.
always down to talk Amazing Race.
Yay. All right. Well, Sasha, anything to plug? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me talking pop culture, whatever something's trending and you want to know why something's trending or what's going on in these celeb streets. Check out Mess Magnets with Kristen McKenna, like you said. And I'm talking Daredevil with Jason Reed over on We Know Scripted TV or We Know Marvel. It's on YouTube. If you want to see our faces, go check that out on We Know Scripted TV is the YouTube name and the feed name as well. And maybe there's some jet lag coverage, so keep an eye out on that. We don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I have going on. Thank you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And be sure to follow us at Let's Chat Reality on Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Follow us individually. Mine, Michael Horn 23 on all social media, Molly Ross _ on social media. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And Sasha, I have no other
And
way
leave
that
a
I could
5-star
possibly
review because they're killing it.
thank you.
Yes.
And Sasha, there's no other way that I could end this other than sweet dreams, Sasha.
Wait. Okay. And if you
But-
stayed for the end, that was a bonus. But
yes,
definitely leave the
absolutely.
5-star.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.